Did you know that 73% of students are studying completely wrong? Yeah, I'm not even kidding. Nearly 3/4 of us are spending hours with our textbooks and getting almost nothing from it. Listen up, I'm about to save you from making the exact same mistakes I did. And trust me, this isn't some lame study tips video. I'm talking about the real science behind why your brain isn't holding onto information and how to fix it. I wish someone had told me before I bombed my first year of exams. The craziest part is you don't need to study more. You need to study different. The problem with traditional studying. You know the drill. Midnight study sessions, textbooks covered in neon highlights, endless note rewriting, and somehow your brain still feels empty. We've all been there. That's because highlighting, rereading, and cramming are literally the worst ways to study. And I'm not exaggerating. There's actual research on this. These methods give you the illusion of learning. Your brain is like, yeah, this looks familiar. I totally know this. But when exam time comes, it's gone. The 3 biggest studying mistakes. Let's break down the 3 biggest mistakes you're probably making right now. Number 1, passive learning. Reading and highlighting might feel productive, but it's like watching a movie about swimming and thinking you know how to swim. Your brain isn't engaged, it's just observing. Studies show that students who simply reread their notes remember only about 10% of the material after a week. 10%. You might as well be throwing 90% of your study time in the trash. Number 2, cramming. I get it. We've all been there. You put it off and suddenly it's the night before and you're trying to jam an entire semester's worth of information into your brain in one night. The problem is your brain doesn't work that way. When you cram, you're using your short-term memory, which is like using a tiny cup to hold an ocean of information. It might get you through tomorrow's test, but a week later, it's gone. Number 3, the familiarity trap. This is the sneakiest one. You read something and think, oh yeah, I know this, just because you recognize it. But recognition is not the same as recall. It's like recognizing someone's face versus remembering their name. Totally different brain processes. And guess what exams test? Not recognition, they test recall. Active recall. This is where everything changes. The single most powerful study technique on the planet is something called active recall, and it's embarrassingly simple. Instead of passively reading information, you force your brain to retrieve it. That's it. That's the magic. Here's how it works. When you try to recall information from memory, you're actually strengthening the neural pathways that help you retrieve that information later. Let me give you a quick demonstration. Imagine you just read a page about, say, the causes of World War I. Passive studying would be skimming it and thinking, yep, makes sense. Active recall is closing the book and asking yourself, what were the 4 main causes of World War I? And really trying to pull that information from your memory. Even if you get it wrong, the mere act of trying strengthens those pathways. So how do you actually do active recall? Here are some super practical ways. Method 1, the question method. After you read a section of your notes or textbook, close it and ask yourself questions about what you just read. What are the key points? How does this concept relate to what I learned yesterday? How would I explain this to someone else? The struggle is the point. When your brain has to work to retrieve information, that's when the magic happens. Method 2, the blank page technique. This one's a game changer. Before reviewing your notes, grab a blank piece of paper and write down everything you can remember about the topic. Everything. Don't worry about organization or getting things perfect. After you've brain dumped everything you know, then go back to your notes and see what you missed. Those gaps, that's exactly what you need to focus on. The AI revolution in studying. Okay, here's where things get really interesting. There's a method I started using last semester that absolutely transformed my studying, and almost nobody is talking about it. You can upload your notes to ChatGPT and turn it into your personal tutor that never gets tired, never runs out of patience, and can quiz you in exactly the way you need. Here's how to do it. Take your lecture notes or textbook chapters and upload them to ChatGPT. Then, tell ChatGPT something like, based on these notes, please ask me questions to test my understanding. Start with basic recall questions, then move to more complex questions that test my ability to apply these concepts. As ChatGPT asks you questions, answer them before looking at the suggested answer. Then, compare your response to the correct one. Let me tell you the genius part. When you get something wrong, ask ChatGPT to create more questions specifically about that concept. It's like having a tutor that immediately focuses on your weak spots. Spaced repetition. Now, active recall is powerful, but when you combine it with something called spaced repetition, it's like giving your brain a superpower. Spaced repetition is based on the forgetting curve. Basically, our brains are programmed to forget things over time. but we can hack this system. Instead of studying something once and never looking at it again, you review the material at strategic intervals. First review, 1 day after learning. Second review, 3 days later. Third review, 7 days later. Fourth review, 14 days later. And so on. Each time you review, the information moves from your short-term memory into your long-term memory. The week before the exam. As the exam approaches, here's your game plan. Practice past papers under timed conditions. This is non-negotiable. It's like a dress rehearsal for your brain. Teach the material to someone else or pretend to. If you can explain something clearly, you understand it. If you stumble, you've identified a weak spot. Get enough sleep. I know this sounds like generic advice, but the science is clear. Sleep is when your brain consolidates memories. Pulling an all-nighter is like studying for hours and then deleting half the files. The beauty of these techniques is that they actually save you time in the long run. You study smarter, not longer, and the knowledge actually sticks with you past the exam, which, let's be honest, is kind of the point of education anyway. This was it for today's video. If this helped you even a little, smash that like button and subscribe for more evidence-based learning strategies. Drop a comment with your biggest study challenge and I might make my next video addressing it specifically. Until next time, go crush that exam.